Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this annual members meeting of Camden Islington NHS Foundation Trust. You're all very welcome. My name is Peter Molyneux, and I'm the interim chair of the board and the interim chair of the Council of Governors. I think you probably get used to someone in my role talking about the enormous pressure that we're under in the NHS. But I do think this year, one of the things that's really striking is that some of the increases in needs that we were anticipating post-pandemic are now working their way through, and we're starting to see that impact on our services. So I think we are finding that this has been a particularly challenging time for us, and will continue to be a challenging time as we move forward. So it feels important that, one, we report on what we've been doing over the last year, but also talk about what our plans are to try and meet some of those needs to the benefit of our local populations. We want to tell you about the development of the North London Mental Health Partnership and the progress we're making in terms of the St Pancras Transformation Programme. I'll be giving you an update as interim chair, particularly around the work that the Council of Governors is doing. Then we're going to hear from two of our experts by experience. One of our objectives in 2022-23 was to increase the number of people that we were engaging with and who were helping us with co-production across the organisation. And to see that as being really important in terms of improving the quality of services and ensuring the relevance of services. So we're going to be opening the meeting this afternoon by hearing from two of our experts by experience who will tell us how our services help them and inspire them to help others. Then I'll hand over to the Chief Executive, Ginger Candola, who will outline some of the highlights of 22-23 and talk about our partnership and the achievements over the past year. And as I said, some of the plans that we've got for the year ahead. Our Chief Nursing Officer, Amanda Pithouse, will give an outline of our improvements and achievements in terms of the quality of services. And Sam Gibbons, our Chief Financial Officer, will present a summary of the annual accounts. We then very much hope that there'll be an opportunity for you to ask us any questions or make any comments that you may have. So firstly, I need to do a bit of housekeeping. I need to ask those of you who aren't speaking to keep your microphone on mute. And then when you want to come in, to take your microphone off mute. Just to alert you to the fact that the event is being recorded, and we'll put a link to the recording on the Trust website, along with the presentations and a summary of the questions and answers. This is a public meeting, and we want to hear from you and get your thoughts on our services, so please do get involved. You can put your hand up when at that point in the meeting, or you can post questions in the chat, and whichever you find easier. At the end of the meeting, we'll take as many of those questions as we can. And as I say, if you'd like to ask a question in person, then use the raise your hand option, and then we'll try and make sure that we give you an opportunity to speak. We will put a summary of the questions and answers on our website. So if there are lots of questions and we don't get to yours, or you have a query on something we can't answer today, then please do check the website over the next few days. We will do our best to make sure that everything is answered there. As some of you will be aware, the formal purpose of the meeting is to present our annual report. This has been submitted to NHS England and laid before Parliament. There's a link to the report in the chat now, and you can find it on the Trust website. This meeting also marks the official appointment of our new governors in the years that we have governor elections. The governor elections run on a 3-year cycle, with elections on 2 consecutive years and then a year without elections. 2023 is one of those years when we're not holding elections to the Council of Governors. However, we have welcomed 2 new nominated governors who replaced 2 governors who unfortunately had to leave us. I want to thank them and all of our governors for the work that they do for the Trust. Our 2 new nominated governors are Councillor Jenny Kay, nominated by the London Borough of Islington, and Councillor Tommy Gale, nominated by the London Borough of Camden. These governors replaced Councillor Asima Sheikh and Councillor Nassim Ali, who was Mayor of Camden when he was with us. I really do appreciate the input that they made to the Trust, and particularly wanted to emphasise our thanks to the governors for their continuing dedication. I do think that in a mental health and learning disability organisation, the governors play a very particular role in terms of keeping us real and keeping us true to our values. And I think it's incredibly helpful to have their input. Over the past year, 2022, 2023, they've done a lot of work on helping us to develop our membership strategy. They've been very involved in the planning and design process for our new community hub at Lowther Road and the new hospital that we're planning at Highgate East. And they've also been helping us with the engagement around the development of our new clinical strategy for the partnership. They've also, and rather importantly, been directly engaged in the process to appoint a new substantive chair. And we're hoping to be able to make an announcement in November in relation to that appointment. It has been a remarkable year, and I know that as Ginger and Amanda and Sam introduce their items, that will become hugely clear. I think that we are trying to make sure that while we continue to be under pressure, we really are continuing to try and improve the lives of service users and the lives of people seriously affected by mental illness across our area. And I think that the governors should be really proud of the role that they have played in helping to bring that to a reality. And I'm very grateful to them for the work that they do. So, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's really important that we start this meeting with the voices of people with lived experience, and that we acknowledge the work that many people do with us to co-produce services and to help improve services. We really do benefit from the insights of experts by experience. And so we've been joined today by two who are going to tell us their stories. And the first is Jamal. And Jamal, I'm really looking forward to hearing from you.
Right. Thank you very much. My name is Jamal Jeffries.
Hi.
Mental health problems started all the way in Nigeria when I watched my twin brother got shot in Nigeria when he was 19 years old. We were very close and we did everything together. And that really gave me trauma and flashbacks because of that, watching him get killed. Following that, me and my mommy came to England, and I was still very stressed. And at this time, I was suffering from PTSD and anxiety because of my brother's death. So when it was really bad, and when things got worse, I got admitted to Highgate Mental Health Center. So when I came out from there, my GP recommended me doing some courses at Recovery College, which I did some courses there, and it was really helpful. And it didn't give me only the opportunity to study some courses there, it gave me also an opportunity to interact with other people that suffer similar problems as me in the same college. And we do talk about how things we suffer from, and our stress and other things, and share our views together. And then following that, I did have a relationship problem where I was refused access to my son, which it was stressful. Again, I had to go through the family court to get access to my son. So following that, things were difficult and I was having flashbacks again. So I got admitted again to my Highgate Mental Health Hospital. So when I came out from there, my support worker, which is called Robert Lau, took me on and said to me I should get involved in the football sections he organizes in the community, which is called Arsenal in the community, which we do have Monday sections and Friday sections. And the Friday sections is in the stadium, Emirates Stadium. So sometimes that football sections is not only a kickabout for me, it's giving me a focus as well, because sometimes we do have the support workers come around to talk to us, advise us on our well-being, wellness and diet and all that. And then we do interact as well, all of us that suffer from mental health that play under that football project. We do interact amongst ourselves and share views as well on things that we find difficult and all that. And also we do have sometimes they do give us afternoon tickets to go watch the football matches. And most times as well, the football players do come to our sections to talk to us and and advise us. And that really uplifts us as well and give us a sense of belonging. And then following that, not only that, Rob, also my support worker, has been there for me, even outside the football section, because obviously he comes with me to my appointments, for example, my GP appointments, my solicitor's appointments to do with my having access to my son, and my immigration appointments as well. So he really supports me in a great deal. And then at some point as well, I did the volunteering with the NHS Trust Fund during the COVID, where I was placed at the vaccination hub, and also I did shop trolleys as well. And as part of that, I was enrolled in, I took some courses and trainings as part of that volunteering, which only not help me, is giving me a nod to want to study more. And I want to go to uni soon as well, so that me and my son are very close. I want to be a role model for him as well. So and not only that, the last and not the least, I want to use this opportunity to say thank you to everyone who have been there for me through all this, my tribulation and my life journey. For example, my support worker, Robert Lau, my psychologist, Dr. Lady, and obviously my GP, Dr. Rosanna Limbado, and obviously Jana Scott as well, which was the volunteer manager when I used to volunteer. And obviously now she's taking a different role and she's still supporting me. And thank you all for listening to my story as well. God bless you.
Well, Jamal, thank you for sharing it, and thank you for giving us that insight into both your experience, but also the way in which you've been engaging with the organisation. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing you continue to contribute to the development of services. That's fantastic. Thank you. I think now we're going to hear from Valerie, and I think Valerie, you're going to have a bit of a conversation with Joe Scott, who's one of the engagement leads in the organisation. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Great. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for being here, Valerie. Do you want to tell us what brought you into contact with Camden and Islington Services?
Well, my journey into Camden and Islington Services began in 2012. Previous to that, I was always involved with Health Watch Islington for more than 10 years while I was working. But then that led into my access to training with Islington around service user engagement, because in 2012, that's when they offered the opportunity to get in learning about the engagement, involvement and inclusive work that they do. And also my GP in my borough had supported me when I was in the mental health ward in Whittington in 2013. After I worked in the courts, I had a bit of a breakdown. So that's when my real work started there.
Thanks, Valerie. Can you tell us how you found out about service user involvement at Camden and Islington?
Well, it led on from the training with Islington, because then we realised, understood how Camden and Islington were a trust at the time in 2012-13, and how the commissioners were keen for residents and patient users in mental health to understand and be involved in the change and the engagement and have our input. It's hard work, yes, but have our input in terms of understanding how it worked, and then coming here, meeting yourselves as well, and Serdic and others in the workshops that I used to do early in Camden around co-production. So that's where my transferable skills came from my other work as well. But joining groups to do with that, and then understanding how service user involvement, engagement and inclusiveness is part of the whole process at Camden.
Brilliant. And I believe you're one of the founding members of Side by Side Network. Do you want to tell us what our network is?
Yes, that came out of all of our commitment as service user engagement, because there was others who had far more experience and been around a bit longer. But bringing it all together, we felt as patients and service users with all various backgrounds that we could come together to ensure that the voice of the patient was at the forefront of all of the strategies that were going forward in 2015 or so, 2016. So it's quite a long history with Camden I have and Islington. But at the same time, upskilling us to work side by side with yourselves, colleagues who are champions with us in co-production, to look at how we could improve, and also the developments of the Recovery College at the time, because that was still quite young. And shout out to Marcia, who Marcia Thorpe, who was one of our great supporters, and she's passed away recently. So yeah,
she was a great
support.
Thank you. It's a really difficult time for everyone, but how did involvement and engagement help you through that period?
Well, I think it all gave us an opportunity to get to know our computers at home, and the systems in the trust had to, rise to the occasion quite quickly, because March came around and all of a sudden we couldn't have those interactive meetings that we used to have face to face, which for a lot of us was quite isolating. So it broke the isolation, but it kept us all engaged, because we were still able to talk about the strategies, the clinical work that was going on in the trust, and the developments that are going on in Highgate East. I live that side of Highgate. Through COVID, I could see that building going up and then report back, as we did monthly in Service User Alliance meetings. So it still kept us all engaged, and good support for us, and support from the staff, clinical staff, who championed us online as well to keep us all connected. And the governorships as well, we heard about that. So through Service User Alliance and the various groups, and the support from Vincent Kirshen as well, for all of us and others in the group when there were changes going on with staffing as well. So we had to stay on top of that, and that was a good opportunity to break the isolation of COVID as well, and helped our well-being, mental health well-being.
Thanks, Valerie. And I think one of the things we talked about was it showing you all had a real resilience through keeping going through all that, which is fantastic. Probably resilience you didn't know you had. What do you think the benefits of service user involvement and engagement are?
Me personally, and I think I would encourage anyone, and I recently this summer, through yourself, Joe, got to talk to women at the shelter in Drayton Park. For me, it's about understanding that how the NHS operates, even through these difficult times of COVID, the strategies, the operational, how staff have to still function, and the commitment that they give, alongside the commitment we give as patients as well. So we're shaping a different NHS going forward, and finding ways to make it more creative, and looking at even the new trainee psychology program that's coming out through IAPT. Been asked to get involved in that, but through COVID, the great support that I had myself, learning different psychology for the trust as well. So really, it's a peer support as well, how that's improved, how that's grown from what it was, and now it's in the multidisciplinary teams, whereas before it wasn't. And also seeing the development of BEH as well, the Barnet and Enfield and Haringey, seeing that coming together, and again through service user engagement, Zoom, understanding what the mechanics of that actually is, and the operational side.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks for sharing with us today. Have you got any final comments or messages that you want to share with the group?
I think for the governors and members here at CNI, now we're going into 2023, 10 years or more on, I can say that I see that empowering more marginalised and underrepresented members to come forward, and having the courage and supporting them. Still got a long way to go putting that support in place. So I think that's the future of the NHS, and the young people are the future of the NHS, those with disabilities or not, or hidden disabilities like myself, and not to feel that they can't be influencing the change going forward for the future. So I'd encourage up to underrepresented group and those that are already there to realise that clinical or patient, you can become part of this growing change.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Valerie.
Thank you.
Valerie, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. I think both with Jamal and the project that Jamal was talking about, but also Valerie, your call for people to get involved and to encourage particularly young people to get involved and to help with co-production and help with engagement to shape the future of services and ensure that services are relevant is really, really important. And thank you for coming today to make that point for us. Really powerful, both of you. Thank you very much. So I'm now going to hand over to our Chief Executive, Ginger Candola. Ginger.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the annual general members meeting. Can I just start off by saying a really big thank you to Jamal and Valerie, and listening to your stories and your journey is really impactful and empowering. And actually what it does is it really sets the scene for how we deliver care and why we're all here. So I think it's really important. So thank you for that. The annual members meeting is an opportunity for us to really share with you the great work that we've been doing over the year, take stock, talk to you about some of our financial position and our quality metrics, and then really focus on next year. This period has been extremely challenging, and we are recovering post-pandemic from the post-pandemic and the services there. But also we are in a period of sustained industrial action, which impacts on staff. So that's the backdrop that we have been working on. Nevertheless, during the period of 22-23 reporting year, we have had over 55,000 service user contacts in the two boroughs. We've had 97% of our service users who have had that contact treated in the community. That's really important because that actually ensures that individuals remain in their home, remain in their jobs, remain in their activity, but most importantly, remain close to their loved ones whilst they're receiving care and treatment. We've also been looking at the number of individuals that are participating in.
Hi, how are you?
Could I ask you to go on mute, please?
Yeah.
She's in cell number 12.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So-
can I ask you to go on mute? We can hear details about patients. Thank you. So it's really important that we do involve our service users in research. So we've had over 544 participants in 24 research studies that have been held with the University College London partners, often referred to as UCLP. And they are one of the leading world academic partnerships. And what this does is helps us look at new and modern methodology and ways of making sure that care and treatment is at the forefront of cutting edge. If we move on to the next slide, please. I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge lots of achievements that there have been within the trust. There's too many to call out, but I am going to call out a couple of key ones. In particular, I wanted to call out the work that has been happening in the Mental Health Crisis Assessment Service, which won an Excellence in Mental Health award at the UK Parliamentary Awards, and Sir Keir Starmer entered that himself. So really acknowledges the way that service stood up and delivered care, particularly during the period of COVID and beyond. Our veteran service continues to offer new services, and we launched the Afghan Warm Welcome service for refugees in October last year. Across the partnership, we are leading on one of two NHS pilots in London for the Section 136 with the police. And that is a really exciting pilot that we're leading on, and hopefully will make a great difference to individuals. We've also worked really hard on, and I'll touch later on, the partnership strategies, particularly the people and culture and the equality, diversity and inclusion strategies. And lots of work is ongoing, and thank you for everybody's involvement in our clinical strategy, which really sets out where we want our services developed over the coming years. We continue to work in partnership with BEH, and again, I'll touch on that later. But Valerie touched on it. I think the couple of key, really important things is transforming our state. The Highgate campus build is well on way, and we are hoping to complete that in spring of next year. This will offer state-of-the-art facility, 78 single ensuite rooms with outdoor spaces for each ward and modern therapy spaces. It will form a new single campus with Highgate Mental Health Centre, which will remain renamed Highgate West. And this is all about improving the way that we organise our services and provide cover. I think what's really great about the Highgate campus, and particularly the Highgate East, is the service user involvement in all sorts of details, from colour, from room conception, the design and the layout. And I think that's what makes a great facility. Lowther Road, one of our new community mental health facilities, is well on track and will be opening later this year. And the St Pancras Hospital site is continuing to have its redevelopment. Colleagues will know that, members will know that actually on the St Pancras site, Oriel build, which is the Moorfields build, has started. But we have lots of plans and are working on the facility, which will be at the Institute of Mental Health, but also house our community teams in there. This is an ambitious project, which is all about ensuring that we promote physical and mental well-being for those visiting and working in these facilities. So it's a really great thing, and we are all looking forward to this. As well as transforming our services estate, we're also focusing on our services. And for the last couple of years, we've been working hard on the community mental health transformation. The community mental health transformation, we're working in partnership with Barnet Enfield and the Mental Health Trust. And we are really already making a difference to our residents. The new model of community services across the 5 boroughs provides wraparound support for our residents to stop them becoming seriously unwell. Our community programme is established to support people closer to their homes and providing more localised and personal services. By the summer of 2024, our aim is that every single resident across the 5 boroughs in North Central London will have access to this model of care. Another key thing is about reducing disparities in crisis services across North London. And we're working on a range of initiatives, such as the 111 Think Mental Health telephone service, as well as a rapid response service. Our voluntary sector organisations have provided more crisis CAFs to support people in short term to reduce and manage individuals while they are undergoing stress and anxiety, and they will continue as we move forward. I wanted to just take stock and share with you. We recognise that without our staff, we can't deliver high quality services to our service users. And we've spent a lot of time celebrating, developing and supporting our staff. Earlier on this year, the NHS had its 75th celebration, 75 years of the NHS being available to all individuals free at the point of care, as well as the 75th anniversary of Windrush. Those two elements are intrinsically linked. The NHS has been built upon and run by members of overseas communities, and particularly the Commonwealth and the Windrush generation. Earlier on this year, we did have a big tea party to celebrate with those long-serving staff. Over 200 staff came together with family and loved ones to celebrate this. And I think what was the most moving about this was the individual stories, listening to family members and the sense of pride that they had in their family members working for such an important institute as the NHS. We also had our first partnership awards, Celebrate Staff Awards, called the Oscars. And what's really important about this was the first time we did this across the partnership. And for 3 years, the first time we were able to do this in person and celebrate. And this was a great occasion. And what we want to do is build on this and go from strength to strength. If I go on to the next slide. As I said earlier, the staff experience is the success to delivering high quality staff high quality care. And what we have been focusing on is a number of key things. Our people and organisational development strategy, which is called Creating Great Places to Work, was signed off by the boards on Monday. This sets out a strong direction of travel for how we want to create an inclusive and vibrant workplace where individuals can bring their authentic self to work, irrespective of their background, religion, sexual orientation, and can actually thrive in their chosen professions. This strategy is really important, and what's more important about it was that it was co-created with our staff. And they had a strong input in creating the values for the organisation, the leadership framework, and really focusing on the priorities. We have a strong history of staff networks across Camden and Islington, and they continue to go from strength to strength. I think what this brings for us really is the shared and multiple identities of individuals to discuss, celebrate, and have a collective voice on issues. And they're really important. That gives us a really strong link back into the organisation to hear what the issues are. We have 5 active staff networks: race, disability, women, LGBTQ and staff, and our peer support. In addition, our veterans is a new network which is being formed recently and is also supporting and driving that. Our National Staff Survey is launched and we are continuing to see improvements in our results, but there are areas that we need to focus on. The elements that we are really spending a lot of time is looking at how we continue to roll out restorative just culture to establish a just, fair and inclusive environment. We have listened to our staff and the results, and we are now focusing hard on the wellbeing programme, because this is something that staff told us that they wanted, support with their personal wellbeing, and that has been ongoing. We also know that from time to time, our service users can be abusive, verbally or even physically. And what we want to do is stop this and we are working with the Metropolitan Police on Operational Cavell to spread that this is not okay, and that no one should be suffering from abuse, but anyone who does, we will support them to ensure that they get the right outcome. I think if I have a next slide. During this year, I'm really pleased that we have launched our partnership strategy. This is bold and ambitious and sets out the direction for the next 4 to 5 years for developing our services. And key to that are our strategic aims. And this is really important because this was co-created by our staff, our service users, our governors, and importantly, external stakeholders. And the 4 strategic aims, which are about delivering better mental health, better lives and better communities, focus on providing consistently high quality care closer to home. And that's about ensuring that individuals get care where it's more appropriate to be closer to their homes for all the reasons that we touched on. And when we hear the stories of Valerie and we hear the stories of Jamal, it's really important that care is close to home. In addition, our second aim is about working with our partners in North London and each borough to ensure equity of outcome for all. I think this one's really important because we want to have strong relationships in each of our local boroughs. So continue to build on the relationship that we have with our local authority colleagues in Camden and Islington, our voluntary sector colleagues and our third sector to really drive that. Delivering mental health services is not possible without working with all the partners. Third important aim is about making sure that we create great places to work, providing support for staff and a supportive environment so that they can deliver outstanding care. The elements that I've touched on and will touch on around our strategy and our equality and diversity strategy, it's all about delivering outstanding care. Finally, our fourth aim, which is about delivering an effective organisation by pioneering research, quality improvement and technology to drive that care. And we've touched earlier around the number of projects that we have and people involved, and what we want to do is grow that to make it more important. I'm going to go on to my final slide. Thank you. When we were doing this work, the one important thing that came out from all colleagues, staff, service users and external, was that they wanted us to answer the question about organisational form once and for all as we moved forward. What they asked us was, well, tell us, what does this mean for the organisation? Both boards took the decision to move forward to creating a single legal entity, and we will do that working with NHS England and as part of that, and that work has commenced with the view to have a single legal entity by October 24. We will put our application into NHS England to seek approval. I wanted to touch on why we want to do this. Becoming a single organisation will help us meet the needs of our local population. We serve a population of about 1.8 million, which we're expecting to see about a 20% growth. And by coming together, we believe we can deliver those services. We've got an ageing and growing population. We expect it to increase by 5% by 2030. But what we do know is that we're not expecting to see a correlating growth in our budget. So it is about how we can work together to deliver that. We also need to address our staffing challenges because we continue to have high rates of vacancies in some areas, which is consistent and in line with other NHS organisations. But what we don't want to be is sitting there complacently and thinking everybody's in this situation. We want to work together to make a change to drive the improvements. Our service users tell us they want to have access to care when it's right and appropriate in a timely manner, 24/7. Again, by working together, we can do that. And finally, we believe that working in the partnership, we can make a real difference to all our services and improve the outcomes for our service users. Thank you, Chair. I'll hand to Amanda.
Thank you very much. Amanda, welcome.
Thank you, Peter and Ginger. Hi, everyone. Really pleased to see you all. I am Amanda Pithouse. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer for the partnership, and I'm just going to take you through a few slides outlining some of our achievements around quality and safety. So last year, we set ourselves some key priorities under the heading of patient experience, patient safety, and clinical effectiveness. And we worked with you to develop those priorities together, having various stakeholder events. So thank you for that. And just to talk through those in a bit more detail, I'll have the next slide, please. So patient experience, we wanted to further roll out Dialogue Plus and really build on our achievements with that to date. We have achieved that. Dialogue Plus is a care planning tool which really builds the relationship between the service user and the professional, as well as the families involved, to develop that care plan in a really effective way. And many of our community teams are now using Dialogue Plus routinely. We will continue to work on that going forward as well. In regards to care experience, we wanted to really look at carer experience and involvement in a new way and think about what we could do as a partnership to strengthen that. Building a partnership carer strategy, we've started the work looking at that and seeing the learning from both organisations across the partnership. And with that, we've started to think through how we can implement the triangle of care, which is an approach which involves service users, professionals, and the carer coming together to really strengthen the involvement of all involved. Next slide, please. Thank you. In regards to patient safety, we have for many years been focused on reducing restrictive practice, and we continued to do that in the last 12 months. We launched our violence reduction and reducing restrictive practice strategy last year, and that's a 3-year strategy, so that will be taken forward into the coming years. But what we wanted to focus in on was reducing prone restraints. And you can see from the graph at the bottom of this slide, we have managed to make significant progress and improvements in this area. And you can see there was a number of occasions where we had 0 prone restraints, which I think is really good to see for patient safety and patient experience. We wanted to further build on the work that we'd already done around our suicide prevention strategy and really strengthen the involvement of carers and families in risk assessment processes and care planning processes. Dialogue Plus helps us do that with care planning, and it also helps us think about risk in that process as well. But what we have done is we've trained 60 suicide prevention champions who are working in clinical practice to really focus in and strengthen in this area. Next slide, please. In regards to clinical effectiveness, we wanted to build on the work we'd already been doing around physical health, but we wanted to strengthen our governance processes around this. So we'd implemented My Kit checklist, we're now using this across the partnership, which really looks at emergency equipment and gives us a digital way of reviewing that and knowing that that equipment is safe. We've implemented a partnership physical health group now, and that's happening. I chair that group, and that oversees and monitors the progress that we're making around physical health checks for those with serious mental illness. We've also made significant progress around medicines optimization with the rollout of electronic medical prescribing. And on the slide there, you can see what this does. It basically, it's used to prescribe medication digitally. It keeps a record of patients' prescribing and administration history, and it replaces any paper that we were using before. So our chief pharmacist, working with others, have really made some significant progress. And by the end of this year, we should be absolutely rolling that out across. But there's a lot of digital information that sits behind, which we've been working on. So the Brilliant Basics programme, this is something we developed in Barnet, Enfield and Haringey a number of years ago, and it really just helped us think about what are the basics that we are needing to get right so that every patient every time receives the best possible care. We've spread that learning from that programme now across the partnership, and we're working on these top priority areas, which have been identified following a review of themes across complaints, serious incidents, information that we receive from service users, from our staff, as well as what our regulators are telling us. Next slide, please. That programme of work uses quality improvement methodology at the very core of it, and we can continue as a partnership to build on increasing the capability of our staff working in the organisation and service users to be able to co-produce some quality improvement work together. And we've now developed a QI Academy across the partnership, and we've got coaches and support systems in place to really support people to do that. We also had an excellent event which we held together as a partnership to share learning with each other, and so therefore we can replicate what excellent work is happening in C&I over in BEH and vice versa. Next slide, please. So over the next 12 months, earlier in the year, we met with key stakeholders. Many of you were involved in that process where we set ourselves our quality priorities for 23-24. And these sit in the headings of under patient safety, clinical effectiveness, and patient experience. In regards to patient safety, the NHS England have developed what they call Patient Safety Incident Response Framework, and that really is a framework to strengthen the involvement of service users, families and staff in improving safety culture across the NHS. So it's going to take a period of time. So over the next 12 months, we will be implementing that framework, and we will report back on that this time next year. We are also, as part of that, developing a partnership patient safety strategy, which will really help us build that and develop it further, that in response to the framework. In regards to clinical effectiveness, we want to ensure that there are clear processes in place to prevent discrimination, specifically focusing in on the protected characteristics outlined in the Equality Act, making sure that these are always considered when we're making treatment and care decisions for people or with people. We want to further build on the work that we've done in regards to physical health, making sure that we, in a timely way, identify physical health deterioration, and then we have the right interventions that we're putting in place in order to address those needs. And we're going to do that by developing the capability of our staff working in the organisation through competency frameworks, but also through training. And that, again, will be overseen by some of the work that we'll be doing in the physical health group as a partnership. In regards to patient experience, we want to learn from each other across the partnership and further enhance our service user feedback processes. So not just relying on one method of surveys, etc. We really want to be innovative and think about great ways to hear from service users around their experience, but also a feedback loop to be able to then respond and tell people what we are doing and what action we have taken to address their concerns. And we were, as you heard from Jamal and Valerie, the value that they found in being involved in our work that we do across the trust. We want to increase the number of people that we have as experts by experience on that register and really diversify it, so we've got a great pool of people where they will be getting paid for their contributions, which is only right. Thank you. I think I'm handing over to Samantha Gibbons, who is our
Indeed.
Chief Financial Officer.
Indeed. Welcome, Samantha.
Thanks, Amanda. So I'm going to just talk you through a brief summary of the 22-23 accounts. You can find the full annual accounts and the independent auditors report on the website. So to start with, the trust income, operating income totaled 213.7 million for the year. And most of that came from our NHS clinical commissioning groups, the CCGs, NHS Integrated Care Board, so that's our ICB, and NHS England, and that's to pay for patient activity. Against that, we had total operating expenditure of 207.9 million. And we ended the year, March 23, with an adjusted financial performance of 2.2 million surplus. And so to put into context, that's about 1% of our turnover. In addition, the trust has a financial performance measure against its break-even duty, and it's cumulatively assessed over a kind of rolling 3-year period. So the trust met that requirement with a surplus of 3.7 million. If I go on to the next slide, I can take us through now the outgoings. So starting with capital, we had a large capital expenditure plan for the year, 22-23, and that was 51.1 million. The biggest part of that was the St Pancras Hospital transformation that Ginger mentioned. That included us taking a loan out from the Department of Health and Social Care. And to enable that second full year of capital expenditure, we then we did the build of the new hospital at Highgate East with that, and also the Lowther Road Community Mental Health Centre. We also sold in the year 2 acres of the St Pancras Hospital site, which was to Moorfields, and again that was mentioned, and that allowed us to bring in £40 million to then repay the main part of that loan. That programme continues into 23-24 and ongoing. Just to then look at a little bit of the operating expenditure, so not the capital spend. Our operating expenditure consisted, 77% of it was on staff costs, and that's 160.1 million. If I go on to the next slide, I can just say a little bit about the stability of the finance position. So we had a clean audit report for the year, and the auditors also agreed with our going concern declaration, so that was all really good. The trust continued to have strong cash balances, so we had over 46 million at the end of the year, March 23, and that's after the repayment of the 40 million bridging loan that I mentioned before. If we can go on to the final slide, I'm just going to take us through some of the highlights of 23-24, which is the financial year we're in. So the trust has continued to work with North Central London Integrated Care System to develop the kind of 12-month investment plan, and that's to meet some of the long-term plan priorities for 23-24. Our current financial year plan for North Central London is to submit a 0.7 million surplus, so that's £700,000. That includes a challenging delivery of efficiency savings, and the plan for that is 6.2 million. It's about 4% of what we call influenceable income, and I will just say that basically excludes things like where we have income for hosted psychology trainees, for example, which we wouldn't consider to be influenceable income. Just some areas of additional investment. We've had investment going into community transformation that again was mentioned before, perinatal services, and also we've continued with the schemes that were previously funded non-recurrently through the spending review. And also to say that we will be completing phase 2 of the St Pancras transformation programme. The last point is just to say really that nationally we know that the NHS is facing some challenging financial circumstances. All parts of the NHS are having to review their spend. So one of the things the partnership has done is to launch a financial sustainability programme. And that's where we can look at how we can be more efficient. So really continue to provide high quality care to those that are using our services. That's the summary from me, and I can hand back to Peter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samantha. That was a really helpful summary there. Thank you. So there's an opportunity now, if anyone wants to ask us any questions or make any comments. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, if you want to put your hand up, use the raised hand function. We'll hopefully be able to make that work. But also, if you want to put questions in the chat facility, we can pick them up there. So I don't know if anyone does have anything that they want to ask us. No? James.
So one of my roles in the trust is to be chair of the Rainbow LGBTQ network. And it was really good to see your commitment to EDI and to be reminded of the Pride March in the summer. We are in and we're about to be going into a very politically sort of tense period of time. And our members and myself would be appreciative of sort of some specific apolitical expressions of support towards members who are maybe feeling really quite sort of persecuted at the moment.
Yeah. Ginger, do you want to pick up on that?
Please, and then I will ask Ben. So I think, James, it is really important that we support our staff from every background, and specifically those that are more disadvantaged or at risk of persecution. I recognise what you're saying around the political environment that we are in, and what we will do is our utmost as a board and as leaders to ensure that we support our staff. We've got some specifics that we are taking forward, which I will bring Ben in, but I'm happy to work closely with the Rainbow Network to actually find out what more we need to do. So I'm happy to pick that conversation up with you directly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I think, James, you know our commitment from our previous work and our previous engagement, and you hopefully have seen the very recently launched, as of today, People and OD strategy, which contains numerous commitments in terms of how we want to progress and enhance equality and diversity, covering all of the underrepresented protected characteristics. Via a recent email exchange, I understand some of your specific concerns arising out of various recent political comments. When the appropriate time comes and we have an opportunity to engage in whatever consultation may come out, your network will be consulted. We will not just go off and do a response from the partnership without engaging your network and other networks to ensure that your voice is heard, rest assured.
And I would like to, sorry, Jess, please, yes.
Thank you, Chair. Just to follow up as well, and obviously, and I think, James, you're probably alluding to some of the announcements this week and what that might mean for us as an organisation as well as the wider NHS. And I know we've shared some email exchanges about how we might respond to that. And I think the main message that we would want to portray is that our position and our commitment to diversity across our organisation hasn't changed. Wherever the political landscape is where the political landscape is. Our fundamental issue within our organisations will always be to make sure we're making the right decisions for our service users and our workforce, and we'll do that on an individualised basis, and we'll absolutely show that commitment. And we will work through the particular ramifications of any wider announcements with you to make sure that commitment is clear.
Does that provide some reassurance, James?
Thank you. And I really didn't want to politically ambush you, but there is a strength of feeling amongst the membership and wider. So thank you very much for that. We will appreciate absolutely the sort of commitments. Thank you.
And I think we have to recognise that we've seen on other occasions where we need to work through the specifics, but we need to recognise that there's a mood music being established, and we mustn't allow that mood music to then distort the way we behave and the dignity and respect that we want to accord to all our patients, all our carers and all our staff. Wendy Savage.
Thank you. It's reassuring to see that the services are continuing, but I've got two questions. The first is a clinical one. Last year, I think it was reported that we had set up during the pandemic a very good service where emergencies were seen at St Pancras without having to go to other A&Es. And then last year, there was a question of whether that service was going to continue, despite the fact that it was working well and liked by patients and carers. And I wondered whether it has continued, because that was one of the positive things to come out of the lockdown period.
Did you say you had two questions?
Yes, but I thought they're quite different, so I thought you'd like to answer that one first. The second one is about the question of the members, because as a member, I thought that the way the report talked about engagement with members and was rather rosy. I mean, it said newsletters have continued. There has in fact only been one newsletter in the last year, and that followed a letter that I wrote to you, Peter. And I know that people are pushed, but it does seem to me that the number of members who've come to this meeting shows that people are interested. And since the pandemic, we haven't had our quarterly meetings where we used to have subjects which were of interest to members of mental health topics. We haven't had those meetings. We haven't had any newsletters for a couple of years. And I do not feel as a member that I have been consulted about these changes. All of a sudden, appearing in my email, there was something about this new body, you know, but it didn't say this is something that is starting and you will be part of it as a member of Camden and Islington. So I thought that was very poorly done. And I would just like to say that I hope that next year we have a face-to-face meeting. And if that's considered too expensive, at least we have a hybrid meeting with some people able to come to the St Pancras Hospital and see people actually in the flesh talking instead of on screens, because you can get really exhausted with going to screens all the time and not actually meeting people. And I do think that it's very easy for people at the top to feel that they are relating to people in the community when they aren't getting a feedback from those people, and those people don't feel that they're involved, even though the things that seem to be happening are good. But one wants to feel involved if one is a member, otherwise why be a member?
Okay, thank you very much. Vincent, can I invite you to respond to Wendy's first question, please?
No problem, Peter. Yes, thanks for the question, Wendy. So I'm really pleased to say that the mental health crisis assessment service was reopened. It's currently located at the Peckwater Centre, and the plan is for it to be relocated once the new facility is ready on the Highgate site. So that service is up and running, and yeah, we're very pleased that it is. And yes, and well remembered on the mental health matters meetings we used to have for members. Those were good fun.
And can we have more of them?
Well, so I think that certainly, I mean, you did write to me, and we gave quite a lot of thought to the point you made about the fact that we hadn't transitioned fully from having been in the online world to now having more options. So I know that we are working with the council and with their member engagement group to look at the way in which, one, we engage with members specifically, but also how we engage better with the wider community. So I will certainly take your comments back to them and ask them to have a look at this.
Well, thank you very much.
Are there any other questions or comments? Looking into the wrong camera. Yes, Olga, welcome.
Unmute.
Yeah. My question, good afternoon, everyone. My question is really short. Is the Recovery College working now for Barnet, Enfield, and Haringey, or is just only focusing in Camden and Islington? Or the Recovery College also have its own institution with Barnet, Enfield, and Haringey? And what plans might come for the future now that the 5 boroughs are working together?
Brilliant. That's a really good question, Olga. Thank you. Amanda, do you want to pick that up, please, in terms of the Recovery College and what's the geography that it's going to cover? It does, or it's going to cover.
Yeah, thank you. So excellent work happening in Camden and Islington around the Recovery College, and something that we are certainly keen to spread across the partnership, because BEH don't have a Recovery College. And what we've done so far is we've opened up some of the courses so that we can have Barnet, Enfield and Haringey boroughs apply for those courses and attend. Not all of those courses are available, but we're starting slowly. But the intention is to have a Recovery College across all 5 boroughs. Olga, thanks for your question.
Are there any other comments or questions? Hajia, how are you feeling?
Not really well, but I was asking, where is the Recovery College now located?
Amanda, can you pick that up for me?
Yes, thank you. So it's it's very. I mean, it's based over. If I'm right, Vincent, they use different venues, but it's mainly at the St Pancras face-to-face. But they do a blended approach where we do online as well. So it's both.
But I think it would be great if the Recovery College back as used to be. It is great, and many people benefit from it. So we needed actually a location that where people can go physically.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Hajia. Thank you. Thank you. Yoav, please.
Regarding the visiting the units, is it possible to make a close visit, I guess, in November, December to the units and to see what's going on and to listen a little bit to the staff and if it's possible now that the COVID is lifted. So yeah, that's just thinking out loud.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know if Vincent or Amanda want to pick this up in terms of where we are in terms of governors or undertaking visits.
Yes, thank you, Peter. I'm happy to come in there. Thanks for the question. What we've recently agreed at the executive and at the board, so at the recent what the board was earlier this week, is to is to start implementing a new approach to visiting services. which will include non-executive directors, executives, staff members, service users, governors. So certainly something, and it's been agreed now, we've got a process in place. And I think it would be really good to have this conversation at the governors' meeting, potentially going forward, but people will be in touch to get that ball rolling with you.
Well, maybe we could make a note to follow up at
Thank
least
you.
on the question in December, and then we can think about what timescale we can implement this over. Anything else? Well, in which case, can I please thank Jamil? Can I please thank Valerie? Can I please thank Joe, who was with Valerie? Can I thank Ginger, Amanda, and Samantha for their contributions this afternoon? But particularly, can I thank all of you for attending this afternoon, for your interest in the work, and for particularly to those of you that have asked questions. We will follow up on those questions. And in the meantime, I wish you well and look forward to potentially seeing you at the annual members meeting in a year's time. Thank you very much indeed, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.